Buzz, it is so fun to have you on. I'm excited to do this. Thanks for taking time. I know you don't do a ton of these, so thanks.
Yeah, it's great to see you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. So, Coach, I really want to start here. How would you, in your words, how would you describe your leadership style?
I think it's evolved. I think it's changed. I'm not exactly sure that I can articulate it maybe as well as those that I hope that I'm leading. I think I'm much more positive maybe than I once was. I'm trying to have more of an impact long term than just short term. I think I give more ownership away than ever before. I think early on, I probably thought that my job as a leader was to create more followers. And I would probably say that a little differently now. I think my job is to create more leaders. And so I'm a little slower maybe in the pace that I lead from a teaching standpoint, because I want to make sure as best I can that they're learning for themselves instead of me maybe just guiding them / giving them the answers or what I think the answers are. So maybe it's probably slightly more tender than it once was, particularly off the court. My children are now older / in the same age group as the kids that are on the team. I'm getting to be where I'm closer to being older than their parents. I think some of that probably goes into the maturation of all this as well.
Well, and it's interesting to hear you say how it's evolved, right? I mean, relative to your approach, your lens, even your pace. Do you wish that you had tapped into some of this earlier, Coach? Like sort of this pace, this empathy, do you wish it was earlier that you had tapped into that, or was it just right the way that it was along the way?
Yeah, I think some of that is always just kind of part of your path as a leader. Whether it's immature leadership, whether you were just unaware, if it's some of the things that you've learned along the way, whether you've learned them or those in your group that you're leading have taught to you. I think it's probably a combination of all of those things. And just like anything else, I think there's a lot of different ways to lead. I think it's what you're convicted by, what's most important to you. And I think sometimes in the maturation of a leader, regardless of industry, I think it depends on what their priorities are in that position. And I think, if you're talking about a box score, a lot of the things that I thought were important on the box score of leadership 15 years ago, I don't necessarily think that they're important anymore. Some of that is probably me realizing the wisdom that comes from those 15 years. I think some of that is the landscape in which I'm leading from is completely different. And part of my responsibility is to understand how to lead from the current landscape. And also just think that who I'm leading, because of how things have changed over the last 15 years, my responsibility is to help them in a different way. So I'm not condemning any category. I just think it's probably an answer that has multiple parts to it.
Sure. Well, and it's so cool. I mean, Coach, I've been on the other end of receiving notes from you, T-shirts, quote cards, text quotes, which I just eat up and love it. And
Thanks.
and so do so many, I know. And so now at Maryland, right, it is compound UMD, you say. And I got a card and you shared the compound UMD mission in so many ways, values, principles, words, so much inside of that. Tell me a little bit about compound UMD and this stacking the right things every day. And your belief in that is just awesome and powerful and impactful.
Yeah, it's been really good. I think I was hired on April the 2nd. In essence, for those that don't know, in the summer in college basketball, you can work with your players 8 weeks. You can choose which 8 weeks, and you can kind of choose how you want to utilize that time in those 8 weeks. We all just got here, wherever we came from. This is going to be our first year at Maryland. The players, the coaches, the support staff. And so, in the month of April, as we were hiring a staff, as we were recruiting a team, as it bled into May, as people are beginning to buy houses, sell houses, find apartments to rent, where are you going to live, when do you arrive, when does school start, when does my contract begin, so many different variables. And we've always had a theme each year. And within the theme is an opportunity to maybe cast vision, but also to give us kind of a mantra from which we're going to work. And the theme has words, it also has a logo, and it also is time specific. But I felt like this year, because this was our first year together, we needed something for the summer. And so compound has 8 letters. There's 8 weeks we can work in the summer. There's 8 panels on a basketball, as you know. And how can we start each week investing in their life, not their game? How can we invest in their life? And through that investment, build trustful relationships for life within the organization, not just me, not just the players. How can it be beneficial to everyone? Because we're all going through a transition. And so each of those letters in the word compound represent a word, and that begins to be what we want to concentrate on that week. So without belaboring the point, C was for consistency, O was for ownership, M was for mentality, P was for preparation, the second O, others first, U was for urgent, and we misspell compound on purpose, compound UMD, as it relates to the University of Maryland. But so I don't get in trouble with my fifth grade teacher, we do spell it correctly. So this is week 7. It's the week in, and end was for non-negotiables. And so we start each week with a compound meeting. Transparently, Molly, it's probably been more beneficial and gained more traction than I would have ever thought. I study twice a week in preparation for the compound meeting. Some of them, I think I've probably been better than others. Josh has been great at helping me with the content. What are we going to show? What are they going to see? What do we want them to read? We're reading the book, The Compound Effect. And it's not a book club, but we have each chapter of that book through the first 6 weeks of our compound meetings. We've kind of pulled from that as it related to the thought for the week. It's been really good. I've given a lot of ownership away to allow our guys time to talk, time to ask, time to kind of maybe just from a leadership standpoint, just take that word and how can we, to your point, Albert Einstein, who was for sure smarter than most, it's the 8th wonder of the world is compound interest. And so we started before we even got into the weeks in what we called week 0. We taught our guys the team rules. We have 5 team rules. And then in those compound meetings in week 0, that was how we taught the word compound, was showing them, do you want a penny a day or do you want $1 million? and understanding the effect of day after day. And so it's been really good. I think our guys appreciate it. I think their families are grateful for the investment that we're making in their current life, but hopefully it applies in their future life. So we've never done anything like this in the summer. We'll have a theme and a logo going into year one that's time specific. That becomes our mantra. But Compound has been more than I would have expected when we were kind of thinking through how to do this in May.
Well, and there's just a remarkable amount of tentacles to that. I mean, there is no room for an accident relative to the tentacles and the connection. I mean, from the ball to it's awesome. And so when you in those meetings, I mean, get me inside of that for a hot second, right? Inside of those Compound meetings. I'm just, how long are they? How do they, get me inside of that a little bit.
Yeah, we've done pretty good with that. Sometimes I'm not as efficient with my words as I should be probably. But I will say this. I think our guys have grown from it. And I think that, like you're always, all of us, moms, dads, husbands, CEOs, we're always trying to make decisions. What are we trading our time for?
Yeah.
And I think as a leader, arguably, that's one of the more important decisions you have to make. And so when you're asking everyone in the program, hey, Monday morning at 6, we're having Compound meetings, is that worthy of all of our time? And so I try to make sure that I discern and study and be prepared for only things that would apply for their life. And I do think there's been some growth. We kind of start each meeting the same. Hey guys, tell me about last week. Tell me about urgency. And then we have a winner per day. This kind of goes into a lot of other things. Each week, whoever best represents the thought for that week receives a Maryland flag. We've taught them what the Maryland flag represents, how it got to that point. And then we also, each day, the coaching staff on the court makes decisions and votes on who the winner is of that day. And we have a leaderboard. So we start each Monday with the patch winner, the Maryland flag patch winner. And we review the winners from the previous week from the leaderboard so that they know that I'm a part of that. But I think that I try to ebb and flow at the right pace with the right diction, with the right tone on, let me teach this to you versus I have some thoughts. Let me hear your thoughts and let's kind of go back and forth relative to whatever the subject matter is. A lot of the content we kind of filter through on, does this specifically apply? Can they take that lesson and translate it to that particular week? And so Josh specifically has been tremendous in organizing all of that. He and I meet at the front of each week going into what's ended up being on Monday morning. So it's been really good. I would say it's somewhere between 50 minutes and an hour and 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They have their own notebooks, their Compound journal. We have things that are going to be content that they're going to keep, that they're going to take notes on. We've used the Compound Effect book as part of it. 7 of those guys said it was the first book that they had read since they had been in college that wasn't assigned to them, even though technically I did assign it to them. So there's been a lot of good things that came from it.
When I mean, the level of intentionality in which you lead and in which you operate is uncanny. I mean, it is remarkable and unique, Buzz. I mean, clearly, and I've gotten a little bit of a taste of that since we've connected. And I would imagine, I mean, that level of intentionality is I mean, and you know this, right? It is remarkably unique, and I think we both know that really successful people operate through a lens that is highly intentional. But I'm curious because yours is sort of 10x. I think what is often seen, and even in the coaching space, in the leadership space, where did that come from? And when did you realize that this was a system by which you wanted to live your life? I mean, I you know, you have the 9 disciplines that you live into. I mean, your daily behaviors and who you do them with and for, and who you serve and how you serve them is far from an accident. Where did that come from, and how has that served you?
Yeah, it's an evolution too. I think like anybody, you know, what you do every day matters more than what you do occasionally.
Sure.
And we all know that. But the discipline required to do it every day, we all know is much more difficult to execute than it is to say. And so, as my life has continued to unfold, I'm living a life way bigger, way more exposure than anything that I would have ever dreamed. And so I've tried to make sure that as my world has continued to change, which is such a blessing, that I also have the same responsibilities relative to my priorities. And sometimes I've been okay in that, and there have been times when I haven't. In any category, as a husband, as a father, as a head coach relative to my staff, as a head coach relative to our players, as a head coach relative to the community, the institution that I represent. And so the only way that I have been able to try to create some consistency is to make sure that I'm accountable for how I utilize my time. Because when you wrote a book, or you wrote all 7 books, or when you were an agent, or when you were a speaker, you still have the same amount of time. And so I think there's so many decisions that you have to filter through on how are you best going to utilize your time. And when you're 30, you think you should spend your time in one way, and then when you're 50, you think you should spend your time in a different way. And so I've just tried to be very diligent in what I thought was the right thing, not only for then, but I thought it created the right growth for me going forward. And sometimes I was right. Some of those same disciplines I've kept for a long time. Some of them are brand new. I write my kids every single day. I write my kids something that matters if they go to school. Not have a good day, not I love you. I do say those things, but it's some level of lesson. It wasn't something that it starts because for my birthday, I don't want them to give me anything. I want to give them something. And so when I turned 49, I said, this is what I'm going to give you this year. If you go to school, I'm going to leave you a note of wisdom each day. Well, now 3 of my kids don't live at home, so I mail it to them every day, which means our GA, when I address the envelope and put the stamp on it, hey, I want it postmarked that particular day. Well, that now takes up not just my time, that takes up the GA's time. And so I've tried to be thoughtful in some of that. I write 2 thank you notes a day because I met an author whose life story was he ascended at a very fast rate to become a CEO and lost everything, lost his family, lost his home, lost everything. And he realized that along the way that his arrogance and his ego got in the way, and he didn't have a grateful heart. And so as he was in a 1-bedroom unair conditioned apartment, he started writing thank you notes that he should have written 10 years ago. And so I write 2 thank you notes a day, every day of the year, not because I'm trying to be a great person, but it's selfishly So I have a daily reminder that I need to have a grateful heart. So some of that, I became very unhealthy when I was in my second season at Marquette. And that's led to a path of trying to figure out how to be healthy in a variety of different ways. And so I've exercised every day for 913 days as of today. Is it because I'm trying to be the most fit? No, I'm just trying to be healthy so that I can continue in hopes to fulfill my purpose. And I know I need my health. And so there's a variety of how those 9 daily disciplines have become my non-daily discipline.
Well, I got to tell you, Buzz, I mean, what I loved is when we were confirming our conversation today, you sent me a photo of
Yeah.
your, and I we're almost the same age. And so, and people that work with me and even my children who are home from school this summer. I mean, it's funny because they're like, Mom, like you love paper and you write everything, because, and so when I got yours, I couldn't help but notice the 9 little boxes in the right
Right.
of the cell,
Right.
which is, I mean, and this is your homemade to-do list system
Yes.
that you've created, correct?
That's
And
right.
and then the 9 little boxes allow you to check throughout the day as you're executing your 9 disciplines. Is that how that works?
Right. And it started 18 years ago, and there weren't 9 daily disciplines, and there weren't all the quotes that Kayla has sent you. And so, again, it's all kind of evolved. It was my first grade calendar within our program. We still call it my first grade calendar. Whenever it's updated, everybody in the program gets a copy of it, as does my wife, so we can be efficient and effective with our time. So its roots started one way, and its fruits, so to say, have turned into something completely different, just like a lot of things in our lives. But it has for sure been a conduit in a variety of ways, not only professionally, but also personally.
How, as a leader, obviously compound and various systems, I know as you embark on different times in the season, how do you keep your team aligned? Buzz, when you think about wins and losses and anchored, if you will, inside of these moments and the roller coaster and as part of what is now an ever-changing landscape and locker rooms are changing constantly. How do you do that on a daily basis?
I think that's a big part of the job now.
Sure.
A lot of it is because of the content of the question. What you used to do as a head coach 15 years ago, some of that still applies. But now a lot of the skill that's required, it's almost a completely different industry. And so you have to do it daily. And I think it requires your absolute best in that moment, whatever that moment is. Was it good? Was it bad? Is it an important decision? Is it a decision that impacts others? Your absolute best in that moment relative to what you believe, what you're not willing to sacrifice, your best in that moment relative to the information that you have. Is it the right information? Is it coming from the right sources? Is that information presented in a clear way? Your absolute best in that moment, because that sets up the next moment. And it's very difficult what you were doing as a coach in college basketball 10 years ago and how you went about your job in late July than how you go about it now. And Molly, I don't have the answers. I don't know that anybody has the answers. And in some degree, that's potentially why nobody has the answers. And so there's been a vacuum of leadership, and that's way above me. And so I've just decided I don't know that I can spend any of my energy or emotion trying to solve whatever it's going to become. But I can give my energy and emotion to the people that are in our program. And the only way I know to do that is moment by moment. And then within those moments, give my absolute best. And my absolute best has to be for everyone. It can't be about me, and that's against human nature. But that's why we're doing the compound meetings. Is it the
Yeah.
right use of time? We probably should be working on how we're going to score. We
Right.
probably should be working on how we're going to prevent the opponent from not scoring as many. There's a lot of ways to look at this, and I think
Yeah.
you have to figure out what is it that you're comfortable with in adjusting, because we know that change is inevitable. And so
Sure.
within the change, what are you going to be able to adjust? What are you willing to adapt to? And then what are the core things that you're going to hold on to? And if that means you can't keep doing it, like you're seeing a lot of coaches, then you're comfortable with that. And so the only the long answer and the short answer is, I think your absolute best is required in that moment. And can you be where your feet are, mentally, physically, emotionally, so you can give your best as a leader to those leaders that you're trying to create?
Yeah. How do you balance account and empathy? How do you do that?
Yeah, delicately.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
one thing that I've learned over the last couple of years that's probably not said enough is, and they were saying it when we were kids, when I know you care about who I am, then I'm going to care what you have to say. And the more you invest in a relationship with me, the more I'm willing to give you my best. We've always heard those things, but I think in some ways, everybody wants to be their best. But you have to
Yeah.
know, and they have to know that you want their best. And in wanting their best, you don't want it for yourself, you want it for them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we talk a lot about what is your vision and where are you trying to go? And explain that to me so I understand your heart, so I understand your dream, and then I can hold you accountable. And relative to the empathy, when I don't think you're on that path, I can ask you a question. Do you think this is in alignment with what you told me you were trying to do? No. Okay, well, then do I have permission
Yeah.
in our relationship to tell you that I don't think that leads you on the path that you're wanting to go? Yeah, coach, that's why I came. Okay, well, then I think my responsibility is to hold you accountable to what I know your best can be. But I do think that there is a realm of the empathetic part has to come from the relationship.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
accountability part is a different part of the relationship. It's still the same relationship. But if I truly love you, I don't
Yeah.
have an agenda. The
Right.
agenda is for you to be the best you can be. The agenda has nothing to do with me or where I'm going. My
Yeah.
responsibility within my purpose in this relationship is to help you be the best you can be. And so, will you give me permission to hold you accountable for where you're going? And do you believe that I have the wisdom, can guide you towards that path? And if you don't, then you shouldn't come here. And if I can't invest in who you are to have a trustful relationship, then we're probably never going to allow ourselves to get to the point where I can hold you accountable at the highest level to be the best that you can be. And, it's difference between your words and your actions, two different categories.
Yeah.
Both of them
Totally.
represent yourself. But
Yeah.
when your words and your actions match,
Yeah.
you're probably going in a distinct path. And
Yeah.
so you can't talk the way you would like to be
Right.
and end up that way. But
Right.
you also can't do only the actions it's got to be both. And so talk the way you would like to be, and you'll be the way you talk. That, I think that's right. But you need the words and the actions to match. And so I've noticed in the last couple of years that these young men want to be told the truth. And they want to be held accountable. But they want the truth, and they want to be held accountable when they can trust you. And they can't trust you until it's trusted truth. And so I've tried to develop the habit of saying what they don't hear enough. You don't know where they came from. They don't know where I came from. And so we have to spend time making sure that our truth is trusted so that it's trusted truth.
And that takes time.
No question. There's no cheat code to that.
Totally. It takes time. You know, you've been in front of, beside, in locker rooms, in good and challenging moments with young people today. How has your approach to motivating, inspiring, gaining trust, gaining belief in service of them being the best version of themselves, how has it evolved from years and years ago to a young athlete today?
Yeah, I would say it's evolved. I would say I don't know that this is right. There's a lot of people a lot smarter doing this at a much higher level than I am. The only way I know to do it is in real time. Tell them only the truth.
Yeah.
Team rule number 1: always tell the truth, comma, no matter your emotional state, happy, sad, mad, glad, big win, awful loss, comma, always tell the truth, comma, no matter your emotional state, period, secrets or lies. We always have to abide by team rule 1. That's in a timeout. That's at halftime. That's before the game. That's after the game. That's when we go on a walk and it's just me and him. That's when we're about to start practice. That's when we're in the film room. You used to could say probably anything you wanted to say, and there was more blind trust than ever before. But with how the model has changed, I think that's forced the relationship to have to change. And you have to figure out a way where they know, no matter the environment, that they trust you. And I think their parents, their sphere of influence, I think that's become just as important, maybe more important in this evolution. And recruiting is different than it ever was. And so the tell the truth part, the team rule 1 part, that applies from the very beginning, because you can't exaggerate or not tell the truth and then they arrive and now it's something different. Now that's going to lead to a fracture in the relationship relative to their trust, relative to the truth. And so it's kind of like possessions. If they start bad, they normally end bad. If they start good, they normally end good. And so I think it's the same in relationships.
Yeah, I used to always tell my athletes, right, when things would happen, tell the truth, tell it fast, and tell it yourself.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Hey,
I won't ever listen to this podcast, but maybe it's recorded. Maybe you can send me that.
I got
snippet.
you. I text you. Tell the truth, tell it fast, and tell it yourself. I'm honored to have a quote resonate with Buzz.
That's
this
good.
Is big. This is big,
that's going
man.
on my calendar.
Let's go. I love it. How do you lead, a star player, and do you, differently than a role player? And I understand it's a team, and I obviously, and the principles, the values, but is there anything there, Coach, like relative to a star player, and leading them differently than a role player, beyond the fact that I know you want to get in their heart and know who they are? I guess in part my question is more of just because of what they're doing on the court. Do you lead them differently?
Yeah, I don't want to lead anybody different because of their talent. I want
Yeah.
my leadership to be the same. I think your best players, you need to coach harder. That's
Yeah.
my opinion. I
Mm,
don't think you need to coach softer. I think the best teams, the best coaches, the example of how to play hard, how to be the teammate that you as a coach want them to be. I think it demands that, it's the coach and the quarterback, they can never have a bad day. And
yeah.
that's because
Yeah.
they're the ones that are being pushed the hardest. And so I'm not saying that that answer is right at all. I'm saying that's the way I have always tried to do it. I think you need to coach the best players harder so that when the role player becomes the best player, he knows that
Mm,
that's the path. I don't think it
mm,
can be based on their talent. You can do it in a different way because now not only are you not holding the best player accountable to
mm,
his best, but now the role player can never be his best because of the example of the behavior that you are modeling, so to say. I, I, I
mm-hmm.
I think you want to model the behavior of this is the
Yeah.
direction and this is how it goes because now as you're coaching the best player, that role player has a vision for that's how it's supposed to be done. I don't think that
Mm-hmm.
role player can see you treating or coaching the best player differently because of their talent, because
Mm-hmm.
then you're not going to exhaust the role player's talent.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like parenting, right? I mean, we've talked about our kids. I mean, it's like parenting. I mean, you got you that first one, right? They're greasing the wheels for sort of everything else. So, you've talked about talent, and this is something that I know you unpacked and read certainly in my book Dynamic Drive, and I
Very
love
good
that.
book.
But talent isn't enough, and I love how you talk about
No.
it. Talent plus mindset plus discipline plus and tell me a little bit about. I mean, to me, we live in a world where, particularly in sports, people assume that some of the guys and gals that are on the court or that are competing or playing is that they have a lot of talent, and they do, but they're not there, and they certainly don't stay there just as a result of talent. When tell me a little bit about the way you talk about this as because I think it's a dangerous and slippery slope when people and parents even parent their children and say, you're just so gifted, you're so talented, because they think that's enough. And it isn't, right? How do you talk about talent, Buzz? Because I think it's an important thing to unpack in a world that I think is so, can be misguided, that it's could be enough.
I think talent is just a prerequisite.
Yeah.
We honestly, from the word talent, I don't know how often I ever use that word. Sometimes I use gifts, and relative to your gifts, within the blessing of those gifts come a responsibility. And many times that responsibility in how you utilize your talent, that's where the separation is. And the reason that I personally believe that talent is a prerequisite is if your talent is not good enough, then it's probably not sustainable, whatever industry we're talking about. And then I also think that if your talent is good enough and you think that only your talent is required, I personally don't think that that will be sustainable enough either. And so I think the lowest common denominator in that is your talent is a prerequisite. And so now, where that talent goes, many times is related to how you handle the intangibles. What is your discipline? What kind of teammate are you? What level of IQ do you have? What level of EQ do you have? What is your daily diligence relative to your work ethic? Are you training your mind as much as you're training your body? Are you training your emotions at the same rate that you're working on your diet? And so I think it's all of the intangibles. I don't think that there is a category where your talent at the highest level will be enough. And I also think, relative to at the highest level, they're all talented. And so
Right.
now,
Totally.
what is the separation? The
Yeah.
separation is not going to be the talent. The separation are going to be all of the things that are not in the box scores, all of the things that you can't tangibly touch. That ends up being the separator, maybe not in a specific game, but over the course of a career, over the course of a season. I think talent always levels out, and the separator ends up being the intangibles. And so we, I wouldn't say that we take for granted someone's talent or we take
Sure.
for granted their gifts. And I do think we try to speak life to them in regards to their gifts, but I would be doing them a disservice, not just as a basketball player, but whatever they become as a basketball player and beyond, if they think that talent is just enough. So
Yeah.
we say your gifts are the prerequisites. If we didn't think you were gifted, we wouldn't want you to be here. That applies to our video coordinator. That applies to our graduate assistant. That applies to our best player, our worst player. We need your gifts. We have a role for your gifts, but your gifts are just a prerequisite.
Yeah.
That's just the admission ticket to the concert. That's just the admission ticket to the tour. It's
Yeah.
all of the other things. What is your energy? What is your
Yeah.
execution level? And all of those things are compartments of all of the intangible things that I've already mentioned.
You said energy, and we talked about this a little bit in the past, but how do you manage your energy through what is a remarkably demanding D1 coaching job, career? What's your process to manage your energy effectively with just a remarkable level of demand?
I struggle with it. Sometimes I think I know. I've been here, I think, as of the taping of this, 116 days. I haven't been great. I haven't been great because I've been out of any level of routine. My family wasn't here the first 90 days. My staff, my staff combined have been with me for 95 years at all of the different places we've been. They have arrived relative to our transition here at different times. Obviously, we went through the spring with no players on campus because we were putting together our team. I lived in a hotel for 75 days, like all of the things that come with a transition. That's not me complaining
Right.
about any part of it. I know that that's what comes with it. But relative to my energy management, a lot of it I think is directly correlated with my time management. And some things in my career, Molly, have not been based on my gifts at all. I think some of the blessings that have happened in my career have literally been based on just my willingness to bring the best energy I can bring. Not that I have the best IQ, not that I have the best play, so to say, but I do want to invest and help others be their best. And so, I believe joy is the key to life.
Yeah, sure.
And my joy has been a roller coaster, not because I'm not joyful, but it hasn't always been evident. And all of the changes, just to be transparent, over the last 3 to 4 years, what is this going to be, and how do I operate as a leader within what this is going to be? I've struggled. I've tried to find ways. I've tried to create what I think is right. But if joy is the key to life, then gratitude's the key to joy. And so I've constantly tried to remind myself how grateful I am for all of it, for my health, for my family, for my staff, for our team, for this opportunity at Maryland. But relative to my energy management and all of the responsibilities, I've probably made like a C plus in the transition. And I'm recruiting is over now as far as me being able to leave campus until September, and I've got to try to create some rhythm, some level
Yeah.
of routine in my new places. Um, a new home.
Wow.
They're building a new practice facility that we've kind of been in a makeshift sort of place since we arrived. That should happen towards the end of August. All really good things. The
Right.
practice facility is going to be incredible. Our house, I'm so thankful. But how do I get to my house? I don't know. I have to plug it in the GPS. What, I've tried to
Yeah.
figure out how to do a better job with my energy relative to all of the things that come with the transition. And I think the bottom line is some of it, it's just what comes with the transition. But I do think this having some level of sustainability, no matter your industry, as much as I think it's time management, I believe it's time management, which is a byproduct of energy management.
Well,
You can't allow the busyness to control your peace. And
yeah,
at times, I
right.
think I've allowed the busyness to control my peace. And when my peace,
Yeah.
however you derive peace and however you would define it, when
Yeah.
your peace is uh, altering,
Yeah.
it's going to change your energy. It's going to change your
Yeah.
joy. It's
Yeah.
going to change your gratitude.
One of my buddies, Trent Shelton, wrote a book called "Protect Your Peace."
I read that. It's really good.
Yeah, no, because it's a lot, but I think what what I hear, Coach, that I think is just amazing that I think we can all learn from is that you are maybe a little bit out of balance, out of alignment over the last several months as you make this transition, but you know it. And
Yes.
what breaks my heart is the amount of people in the world who are, because to go after something wholeheartedly in our lives, we probably will be out of alignment, but we got to know it and get back aligned, or know when we and how we will. Time, energy, all of that plays a part in that, but the awareness that the joy and the fulfillment is what we're really all going after, I think is such a critical lens that sadly often I think people can miss, which breaks my heart. I mean, that is so much of what Dynamic Drive is about. Is
I
this?
think that was when I
Is this?
texted you.
Yes.
Portion of your book was the audit, and
Yes.
partly because I'm going through it, I thought
Yeah.
that was the part that most applied to me at that time.
Well, you're not alone. I mean, I think it applies to all of us consistently, and
Yeah,
it's a
good
great
point.
check-in for me and for so many. Coach, when you think about your role as a leader, who is a servant leader for sure, who wants to pour in and make others' lives better, what are you working on right now as a leader that you're, maybe you've shared publicly, maybe you haven't, but like something that you really want to do better as a leader?
Yeah, I think that my prayers on a daily basis are kind of, in some ways, what we've talked about the last hour. I want to utilize my time in the right way. I want to have more of a lifelong impact on the hearts and minds of those that I'm responsible or I feel responsible for. I want to tell the truth, whether it's received or not. I want that when I speak, that I speak the truth. I want to try to figure out how to stay away from things that are not lasting. I seem to get really distracted. Some of it is the transition of trying to ascertain, is this worthy of my time? Is this not worthy of my time? I've done a pretty good job over the last decade of saying no. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I say no to nearly all of them. And it's not because I don't want to share. It's always a decision of how am I spending my time? how am I spending my energy, and where is my impact? And I don't know that I have all of the answers, so I'm always a little hesitant on. I always seem to learn a lot when I listen to your podcast, when I listen to several of these other ones. And so I don't know that I necessarily have anything to share. And I don't mean that arrogantly. I'm just like,
Sure.
man,
Sure.
these guests are like really good, and I'm looking forward to learning from them. But I think that I'm constantly trying to make sure that my heart and my mind and my eyes and my ears are only hearing, seeing, thinking things that create a lasting impact.
Legacy.
Sure.
Legacy. Love it. So, Coach, we end with rapid fire. So I'm going to hit a couple
Okay.
quick ones at you. You ready?
I remember
What?
this.
Let's go. I love it. What are 1 to 2 non-negotiable habits that make you a better leader every day?
I'm going to exercise every day, and I'm going to read and have a quiet time every day.
What's one leadership lesson you wish more people learned earlier?
Write more, read more, talk less.
Love it. Who's a leader that you've studied or been really inspired by, and why?
Like thousands and thousands of people.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know which name I would mention. I could mention somebody that people know, or I could mention somebody that people don't know. My wife is a tremendous leader, and I do learn from her strength, and I also learn from her consistency in how she has been the head coach of our home, and the head coach of our children, and the head coach of this transition. And she's a head coach in many more sports than I am. And so I have learned a lot from her, even though she would say the opposite.
If you weren't coaching, what mission do you think you would be leading?
Something that helped people. Basketball is still kind of fun to me. I just love the people. So it would be
Yeah.
something with people. I don't know exactly what industry that would be in, but I love people, and I love seeing opportunities from growth within those people.
Love it. So the show's called Game Changer. So who or what is a game changer who inspires you, and why?
Yeah, my junior college coach, who I was a manager for, has probably inspired me as a game changer. He was a college coach for 50 years, and the highest level he ever accrued was the head coaching job at a junior college. He was a coach at 2 different junior colleges. But I at a young age, 17 and 18 years old, my freshman and sophomore year in college, I thought the impact that he had on my life, even in a way I didn't understand it then. He's now 88 years old. And when I became the head coach at Marquette, he retired after 50 years and has been some version of consultant, helper, mentor over the last 17 years. And I would have never thought of that when I attended the local community college, just because it was a place that I could afford to go to school. But I don't think that the game changers always get the notoriety that they deserve and or have the opportunity for exposure that other game changers have. And so most of my path has been from those that others don't know, that have been willing to help me and change my life in hopes that I can pay it forward to others.
Oh, I love it. Buzz Williams, so fun, and cheering for you this season, man.
Thank you so much. You're welcome here anytime. I appreciate the opportunity to be on your show.
Love it. Thanks so much, Coach.
I appreciate you. Have a good day.